This is the Extensionists, Conversations with Great Thinkers in Agriculture. I'm Toban Dyck.
And I'm Whetter.
Yeah.
So Collie and Chris, were they first on the scene, and then because they had met you through your work with the Ministry of Agriculture, they really quickly brought you on board? Is that how it went?
Yeah, pretty much. So I have like a very small background in doing some social media stuff, and they thought that that would be useful for doing their social media stuff because I'm more well-versed than they are.
Yeah. Well, and you're sort of a generation that grew up more or less with social media. I definitely didn't. Toban's a bit younger than me, but maybe he didn't either.
I certainly didn't grow up with it. No.
Yeah.
No.
So what was it about your social media experience that was interesting for them?
So in my free time, I stream, like playing games and talking with people. So it's kind of like this.
Yeah.
So they use that prior experience to kind of base my experience for this position.
So streaming, okay, this is
we're going to really show our
this
age
is old,
here. It's like,
old man stares at cloud, or no, yells at cloud. So is that actually a social media, or is that more like when you're playing a game, you're talking with other people, other players? Is that like, so it's kind of a closed community, or is this actually something that anybody could listen in on?
Oh, Jay. Unbelievable.
So it's kind of like an all-encompassing thing. As a streamer, you're kind of in charge of your own social media accounts and kind of figuring out algorithms and hashtags to use and all the hip slang and lingo and whatnot. So like I've been posting on like Twitter and Instagram and whatnot. So
yeah, okay. So I understand all of those things, but it's like this streaming thing. So Toban, help me out here.
Well, what would be funny is because I would offer my kind of mansplanation or whatever.
Yeah. So mansplain to me,
right?
Justice.
So which would be also completely off the mark, which would be also quite funny. But I'm really exposing myself here. Like, I've seen this where people game, right? So there's gaming. I think what you're referring to is like headset, like you're talking to other players.
Yeah. That
you're playing with. So there's that kind of gaming, which Justice, you can interrupt anytime. Just be like,
no, you go for it.
Thank you. You can dig your own hole. That's right.
Yeah, that's right.
So, but then there's some of the social media channels allow you. So you can actually watch the person play. Like, so there'd be a camera on me.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Okay. I've seen that
with the controller playing, and then in this corner of the screen, you'd actually have what they're doing, what their character's doing.
Yeah. Okay. And so you can watch that on YouTube or whatever.
Or there's certain like Twitch, I think, is one of them. Or
Yeah. Right. So Twitch is what I use. So yeah, it's basically I play a game. Other people will talk, and I can interact with them real time. And I like engaging with people like that. I like talking about the things that I'm playing, and because I take a lot of interest in it. So. Yeah.
And do you is there any way to make that into a work conversation? Like, this is so interesting because I'm learning something that I didn't know anything about. But like if we wanted to somehow engage with you, I'm not going to say younger farmers because lots of people game and there's people my age who even know what you're talking about, even though I don't. But could you use that, and maybe you have used that as an extension tool? So or how would you could you create a game or a world where you lived and you did extension in the way that you're describing?
So it's funny that you say that. There's actually simulation games and there's farming simulation games.
I was gonna ask you.
Yeah. So it's like it's like fully in depth. Like it's a lot of what people would normally do in agriculture. So.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
So if there's not something already, like if you're trying to say connect with Indigenous youth, because I know that's the mandate for the National Circle. Well, it's not the youth isn't just the mandate, but I mean that's part of what you're trying to achieve, and talk about opportunities within agriculture. Even talk about farming itself. Like, could you create? Do you think that would be an effective extension tool, where you create a simulated prairies or Saskatchewan farm scene and have youth participate or I don't know. I'm going to let you explain how that might work, because I just love this idea. I just don't know what I'm talking about.
I guess, yeah. It depends on how, what kind of channels you can connect with people on, really. If there are people who are involved in agriculture who are more inclined to playing video games, then absolutely that could be something that would be a front you can reach people on.
Well, so you asked your question, but I just want to come back to the video. I just really think this is so interesting. The gamification, because a person who is my age said we need to gamify. I'm not using the right lingo, but I mean, like
100%, you're not using the right lingo.
Whatever.
I don't know how to correct
I think maybe some people might know what I'm talking about, but no, because gaming is such a huge part of our culture now. It's not mine, clearly, but to engage with people in a game that gets them to think about their actual real life practices. I think that's.
But so I think like. It's interesting, right? Because I think you're thinking about it as like building a game that could kind of do extension, right? Like a simulator.
But it would be like it wouldn't just be playing the game, although like the simulator. But it would be like having this, like what Justice is trying to describe to me, having a conversation with the participants.
Well, that's what I'm interested. That's I think it's interesting because growing up, like I grew up where video games were not. Like you got to get away from video games. Like kids are supposed to get off the screens and go outside, right? And you know, my wife's doing her master's in literacy, and there's an appreciation for gaming as a form of literacy, as its own language, as a literacy. So it's a place where you learn. You learn and you communicate, and I think it's really interesting when you think about extension that is I think it's a rich area for. Anyway, this is all on you, Justice.
Yeah. We've been talking for 10 minutes, and Justice has talked for about 30 seconds.
You just introduced these old guys to this new concept, and we're so excited.
Justice, what kind of games do you like to play?
I play a lot of like role-playing games and like first-person shooters and sandbox games. I don't know if those mean anything to you.
Well, I got the first-person shooter.
Yeah.
Sandbox. What is that? I know it's not literally a sandbox. I mean, I'm gonna go out on a limb there. But
I mean, metaphorically, it's a sandbox. You're kind of given a base of tools, and you kind of build the game to be what you want it to be. It's not like a game dev thing, but like Minecraft. That's a sandbox game. I'm sure you heard of Minecraft.
Yeah, I have heard of that.
When you said game dev, I'm like looking at. Anyway.
Yeah. Okay. So it's that you're building stuff. Yeah. Okay. Like I think of. Okay, and this isn't sandbox, but Fortnite. Like, because you're actually with. The game starts when there's 100 other actual people, real people, in the game, and then it starts. So I mean, and I'm sure gaming is just going to keep going that way. So just to bring it back to extension, and all this rambling that I've done, like, when you look at your people your age and younger, and getting them to talk about agriculture opportunities, what is effective?
I think community involvement is something that's a big, something that encourages a lot of people to want to get into agriculture or something other, because people do want to like continue to help their community thrive.
And this is community involvement, like real on the ground. This isn't virtual, although it could be, I guess. But I mean, I mean, at the end of the day, you actually need to get out in the fields and do the farming and take care of the livestock. So what have you done any community engagement yet? Like what are some of the things that you've tried? Yeah.
It's kind of a big question. I'd like to say I'm fairly involved with my community, and as in Regina. I part-time 2 Sundays a month I work for a harm reduction clinic as well. So that's kind of my way of getting involved with my community.
Yeah. So the Regina community. So that's you personally, and then with your National Circle job, like have you had a chance to go out into the community? And I know, I mean, you and I were on a bus tour together in August, and that's when we met. We went out to Callisis, and so we were in that community. But are you doing other projects like that? I know it's new, but I mean, have you got around to getting out there and meeting with young people?
Yeah. So we have we've been working with the Chappaways First Nation a fair bit. We've established a community garden, and during harvest, they had a group of 5 grade 6 students come out to do the harvest. So that was really fun to connect with them.
Oh, that's awesome.
Was it a bison harvest, or was it a grain harvest, or was it the community garden?
The harvest of their garden, yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Oh, yeah. Awesome. What did you find really connected with those kids?
Just learning with them, honestly, because
Yeah.
I don't have an agricultural background. So I'm like, oh, I don't know, is that the right size?
Right.
Is this
right.
how far you're supposed to dig down? Like, I was just kind of talking with Val Canistano. She's the head of the garden.
Okay.
And then with Michelle Sandercock, she's our director of business development. So just asking them questions because of their background.
This has been a Burr Forest Group production. We also want to thank the people you don't see.
We're here, we're chatting away with our guests, but there's tons of people who work behind the scenes to make this podcast happen.
Ryan Sanchi is our director,
Ashley Robinson is the coordinator.
and Abby Wall is our producer and editor.